terrible people.
Hello, and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, episode 73.
Hello!
Ooh.
I'm Chris, and joining me today are...
Ames.
Caitlin.
And Jake.
Today we will be looking at The Measure of a Man and the Dauphin. I probably should have looked up ahead of time.
Dauphin.
Like, I was really hoping they'd say it in the episode, but they didn't, so...
I thought they were going to, because she's like, we don't have a word for it in your language. I figured she was going to be like, the French have the word Dauphin. Like, just to you know? But no.
Or maybe Picard could have said, in
the dead language of my people.
Yes. Although in the dead language of Picard's people, that refers to a male usually. But
Yeah, that's what I thought, too, that was a male thing.
Well, being fair.
Maybe Wesley is the Dauphin.
We don't know. We know that it appeared as a female human. We don't know.
Oh, that's true.
What
it was.
They could be a genderless species.
Yeah.
Or a
it could
monster.
be a man.
So, in The Measure of a Man, some blue shirt dickhead wanders into the Enterprise to be all like, I think I know how to make a data, but to be sure, I want to rip your data to pieces and, I might break them in the process. And Data goes, excuse me. And then Picard is like, yeah, no, that's dumb. And they're all like, well, he's been ordered to report to this guy for disassembly. And Data's like, well, then I'll quit.
And they're like, you can't quit because you're fired! Oh, wait, no, that's...
Into a sun!
Carry on.
No, it's more, you can't quit because we literally own you. And shit gets awkward. And Picard's old hate fuck
Oh, I
from
liked
the
that. I loved them together.
Jag off. Oh, yeah, they must have, like...
You just want the jag off.
Yeah.
Yes.
They must have, like, the angriest sex.
Yes.
It is astounding, I bet.
Worf would be envious of this angry sex.
Yeah, no, I mean, lots of ducking.
She gave him the long arm of the law.
Oh.
That's for sure.
I think he gave her the long arm of the law.
He gave her the short pencil tip of justice.
So anyway, based on some sort of legal precedent, she's like, well, technically he does belong to Starfleet, so he can't resign. And Picard is like, oh, that shit is not going to fly, and we have a trial. But because she's short on staff, Riker is forced to prosecute. And he's doing a pretty good job until Picard talks to Guinan, who's like, hey, dipshit, this is basically slavery. And he's like, oh, fuck, it is. And then he makes an impassioned speech, and Data is declared sentient, and everything's fine.
And then more angry hates.
Oh my god, so much.
Oh, the angriest and the hatefulest.
Also possibly the best use of Tasha Yar since her death.
Yeah.
Probably the best use of Tasha Yar.
Period. Actually, close, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
this is
know,
the
Data's-
only use
Data's-
of Tasha Yar since her death. So,
Data's use of Tasha Yar
we
was
saw her face on a
apparently
view
pretty good.
In the Dolphin... Sorry, I had to. The Enterprise is sent to pick up a young ruler-type person who has been raised, isolated on this shitty little cloudy speck of a planet for 16 years. She is the result of a coupling between parents from opposite sides of a centuries-old civil war, and now somehow she's supposed to unite the factions, even though it's just been her and her tutor her whole life.
There aren't other people?
Governess.
Yes.
Oi, governess.
On the way back to her planet, she espies Wesley Crusher, who espies her, and they both get roused. And, he's got a bit of a boner, she's got a lady boner, the governess is all my virgin alarms going off. And, it turns out the governess is a shapeshifter, and she's really overprotective, and her and Worf come, like, this close to screwing, I think.
Yeah. I'm sure they did.
Yeah, no, he was totally into it.
Can you turn into my pet Targ?
Oh, no.
Yikes.
Seriously,
weird.
this is just the week of great ships. And so they're getting on, but she's like,
that kind of ships. Just took me a minute, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, internet ships, not boats.
I feel like the Enterprise
Or
is always
space.
great.
Yeah. So, and she's all like, I'm probably never going to be able to leave my home planet once I'm there to be leader. And Wesley's all like, no, let me show you a tour of the universe in the holodeck. And
I can show you the world.
Kind of, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Let
carpet.
us stand on this asteroid.
Oh, and he lets her try moose.
No. This whole episode, the plot of this episode is a girl desperately tries to eat some chocolate.
And he keeps taking it away from her. That monster.
Here, you've had enough. You need to wash your figure. Let's go to the holodeck.
She's a shapeshifter. She doesn't have to.
Well, he doesn't know this yet. He does find out at the end when the governess tries to murder him, and she also turns into a giant space monster. And at first, he's like, my boner is confused and I'm mad. But then he shows up at the end and be like, no, I'm not. And she beams down, and Wesley has a sad. And Guinan actually gives him some nice advice in a surprisingly well done scene.
Yeah, I actually really liked that. I really, yeah.
Guinan was good this episode.
She was.
Can we just
Guinan
go
was-
ahead and
yeah.
say, like, between these two episodes, Guinan has been showing up Counselor Troi since she arrived.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, from the off.
True.
And I honestly
Everybody
wonder,
knows a good bartender is the best therapist.
I honestly want, but like she's not just therapizing. She's therapizing. She's advising. She's putting things into perspective. She's doing everything that Troi on paper should be doing, but
You're
doesn't.
very, very right.
As we learned
In the cage.
very first episode of Star Trek ever, a man will sometimes tell his bartender things he won't tell his doctor.
This is true, but I really do.
No one tells
It
Troi
kind of makes me
anything.
wonder, like, considering how poorly Troi has been written as a character since this show started.
Yeah.
I wonder how Marina Sirtis, the actress, feels about the introduction of Guinan.
Yeah,
And
really.
the fact that Guinan is doing all of the things that her character should be doing.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, you know, we've complained before about the sort of the quality of the writing for the women on this show. And so along comes Guinan, who is a better counselor than Troi, and a better mother to Wesley than his actual mother ever was.
And did you see the appendectomy she performed? She really showed Pulaski up there.
But yeah, no, good for Guinan. She's just kind of fixing everything everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, she's quickly becoming my favorite. I wouldn't even say secondary actor, supporting actor, because she's pretty integral to a lot of these shows. at
Yeah.
this point, but she's up there now as a favorite of mine.
Oh, I just love Whoopi Goldberg, so I was delighted.
I
totally forgot she was even in this show until she showed up, and I was like, oh my god.
But like, yeah, not only is it like Whoopi Goldberg, and she's obviously fabulous, but it's also the fact that the character's just written
She's great.
really well.
Yeah.
She's great. And I loved it. I loved the use of her in both of these episodes. Like, anyway, I have nothing valuable to
somehow-
add. I just love her.
I think another credit to her, she somehow pulls off those fucking ridiculous costumes they put her in.
Because she looks like a weird alien baby.
But like other people in that outfit, you just be like, this is what? No, this is undermining everything you do. But she just runs with it. You know, you're like, no, this, of course.
Do we know what these costumes are based on? If they were drawing any like inspiration from?
I have no
I
idea.
just think they're her getup.
I'd like to think she actually just showed up in it one day.
We
Just
learn
her
more in
civilian
the
clothes.
future about her origins, and
Yeah.
so. But anyway, Measure of a Man. Now, I'm going to make a bold statement.
Okay.
and say
Not an
that-
italics statement.
Exactly.
Ah.
Actually, this will be bold italics. I
Whoa,
want to
whoa.
underline.
Heading
Underline
two?
Yeah, we're gonna do it all. We're gonna do it all. I'm gonna make a statement. I'm bold to say that the Measure of a Man to date of the shows that we've watched
Whoa.
is my favorite episode of Star Trek.
I think I'd agree
Really?
with that.
That is not including anything that
We haven't
will
seen
be
yet.
coming. I mean, I'm sure there are going to be episodes in the future that I will like better, but this for right now, this is the episode to be. This is the high watermark
Yeah.
of Star Trek.
It was.
Wow.
It's really, really good writing. It's really deep writing, which compared to the Dauphin, which is really, really like shallow writing, is how I think of it. It's like you have like the really deep dive, getting into a really complex concept in what constitutes sentience, and how does the ethics get involved in that way, and dealing with robots and shit.
But let's not
Versus Wesley has for his first kiss.
let's not underemphasize, though. I think the importance in the history of the series of the sort of the ethical conundrums as raised by, say, a piece of the action. In the best way to bluff your way through a contaminated culture.
Or is it good or not good to turn a race into Nazis?
Yeah.
We may never know.
Yeah.
I mean, they left that so...
They
It's
were
the
very...
ongoing
There's such a
debate.
gray area.
I mean, the trains ran on time, goddammit.
And I mean, like, yes, you could say that this episode is kind of... It does boil down to a pretty simplistic concept, which is slavery is bad. But, I don't know, I just think that the way they get there and the way they treat it, and it's really, there was some decent Picarding.
Oh, Picard was at full. He's at Picard now.
Yeah, he has
reached
achieved-
Picard levels of
There's been a
Picard.
few decent Picard scenes. There was the one where he told that punchy guy in the warp room. I can't even remember what was that. I don't know. There was some scene in engineering
When Ira Graves was inside Data?
Yes.
Okay.
Where we had a pretty good Picarding.
We're not doing phrasing anymore?
There's been moments here and there.
Yeah.
But I feel like this, I mean, again, I'm basing this on a very hazy recollection of this series, but you know it better. I'm working on the assumption is this is where the writers finally get it with him.
Yeah, I think that they do a thing. I think they get Picard really well here. I think they get Data really well here. And compare Data here to season 1 Data, which...
He's a curiosity in season 1.
Yeah.
Now he's a sentient being.
And I do have some problems with this episode. There's some things that I feel like were left out.
We didn't get to see the hate fucking?
We didn't get to see the hate fucking, but we also, I like that there was a callback to the Stargazer and that there's a history between these characters. Because here's the thing, right? Kirk meets old woman he knew, and it was, oh, you banged me and we ran out.
It's been 6 years
6
and
years.
4
Yeah,
months and an odd number
and
of
this
days.
one, and then
She was a lawyer, too.
Yeah.
And this one, the woman's like, it's been 6 years, 4 months, 13 weeks, and an odd number of days since I raked you over the coals, you fucking prick.
When we were watching it...
It was her job, damn it.
When Picard spied her across the room and, looked shocked and walked over to her, I look at Caitlin and I go, and this is where Picard and Kirk differ. If Kirk ever saw one of his old flames before she noticed him, he'd be screaming and running in the other direction.
Screaming being the fatal error.
True.
Since if he was quiet and did not move quickly, they
of course,
might not have caught him at it.
This was also before they started talking, and I realized, oh, no, this is hate love. This is going to be interesting.
It's the best kind.
And then she just legit was like, and you're wicked sexy.
Yeah.
I was like,
Love
nice.
it.
Drop it like it's hot, girl.
Yeah, and I liked that she called him out on being arrogant, immediately.
Yep.
Because that's true, he is. But, I thought that some of the knowing glances, some of the, I'm going to make a smirky comment that she did a few times, a little ill
I think that was
placed.
just her face.
No, I feel like there were times when she was trying to make a joke at an inappropriate time, possibly. And it was written into the script, and Picard reacted appropriately when it happened. And I also didn't. One gripe with the writing I had was at the very end when she makes her ruling. She's like, "Well, I think what we're all dancing around the bush here about is, does Data have a soul?" No one ever mentioned a soul.
We're not dancing
That's
around that.
true.
We're dancing around.
Or do you want to enslave
him?
this guy, or do you not want to enslave the guy? His soul doesn't matter.
I
you don't have to be
kind of
religious to not enslave people.
I sort of wrote that off to the writers kind of hedging their bets and assuming maybe the audience is a little stupid. And they're like, look, at least a quarter of the audience might not fully get what we mean by sentient, so let's just talk about him having a soul and they'll get it. I wrote that off to just sort of cynicism on the part of the creative team.
I also don't consider myself religious, but I do sort of think about something like a soul existing. I know that most people associate souls with religion, but I think that you can believe in a soul while being spiritual versus religious, so it isn't necessarily the same thing.
But it's also not what they were talking about in the episode.
No, that's true.
That's my point. I don't care if people believe crazy, ridiculous things, but...
Yeah, no, like I said, I think it was being used as shorthand
Data
to sort
is
of help
Santa
people
Claus.
along.
So...
Is he? Mm-hmm. You think he'll stuff my stocking? I have been a good girl.
The other thing I was waiting
And
for
a
was
naughty girl.
a button at the end where she bids farewell to Picard, and right before the Enterprise warps away, her phone rings and she picks it up and, "Hello, dear lady. I'd like to talk to you about this sentience you've been handing out. I have some crumpets I'd like to stuff you with in the holiday. Quickly."
Sentience you've been handing out.
Yeah. Well, whether or not I come quickly is gonna count on you, mister.
How many crumpets we talking
But
about?
really, it was only a few weeks ago that Picard just pulled the plug on Moriarty, right?
He saved as a backup.
Well, he also didn't know how to fix it either.
That's what Maddox was going to save Data as a backup. So
I don't know. I feel like,
but that would keep the facts of his experiences, but not the flavor or whatever he said. I
feel like there is actually a difference in that Moriarty being a creation of the computer can safely be stored within the computer without losing any of his essential self. Whereas with Data, there's something about his positronic brain that the computer can't necessarily handle.
It's his soul.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he's got that soul chip.
Yeah.
I keep
He's
mine
got
in my
soul,
shoes.
but he's not a soldier.
I haven't heard that song in years.
I got
Soul, but I'm not a soldier. I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier.
I got soul, but I'm not. You know how that would bring.
Yeah.
You know what's
We're done. Sorry, it's over.
fascinating?
He was just rolling eyes. So
Yeah, I'm done with this.
I moved on.
I've left.
Oh, good. I couldn't see her, so. I counted on
Roddenberry nearly shot down this episode because, in his point of view, there are no lawyers in the future.
He's
And
been
in
sued
the
so
future,
many times.
So he
All
can
those
sexually
divorces.
harass anybody
Yeah.
he wants.
He's lost so much in divorce court over the years.
there's a quote: "If people had criminal intention in the future, they would have their minds made right."
But
Which
Wow!
is even more terrifying.
So
than
he believed in,
going to
like-
court.
yeah, he believed in that fucking
What was
crazy.
that fucking movie? Minority Report is the one where they do
Well,
all
no. Well, I was thinking
Thought
of the
crime?
one with
1994.
with Dr. Fuckface
In his Jello mold that
Yeah.
fries your brain. Yeah,
Yikes.
What are you talking about?
from the original
TOS.
series.
But lawyers don't only exist
Oh,
for
yes.
criminal reasons; they exist for civil
Dagger of
trials
the
also.
mind.
So why did he not think about civil trials?
And just ethical questions
Well,
like
also,
this.
I mean, I think Picard says it best. It's like we like to think that we're more advanced, but every now and again, when people of good faith have a disagreement, we have to resort to this old system.
Actually, this isn't an episode of the Orville. To bring back the Orville, when criminals do something, they just basically give them a lobotomy.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christ!
That show's horrifying. See, I was
It's a comedy.
I
It's a
know.
Seth
It's
MacFarlane comedy.
You know, it's actually been highly recommended. I have to watch it one of these days.
There are some
if you
high
like,
points.
if you like derivative fiction, and if you like ill-timed dick,
Boner
poop,
jokes.
and fart jokes,
I mean, did you listen to this podcast?
I was gonna say, have you heard
I said
our
ill-timed.
jokes? Oh, you're right. Ours are always.
ours are always well-timed.
It's true.
Yeah! But yeah, no, it's okay.
Now, see, when you said Roddenberry almost shot this down, I thought it was going to be because he was going to object to the idea that
There wasn't enough sex.
Starfleet would even have questioned whether or not Data was sentient. You know, like just from the off, the fact that they just were like, yeah, no, this guy totally, yeah, like that to me just seems like, again, more evidence that Starfleet isn't as pure and clean as some of the fans like to pretend it is.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? It does, on the surface, seem like it might be based on a flawed premise in that sense, because obviously Data is a life form.
Yeah.
You know, and he's obviously a sentient life form.
Yeah, it just seems like there isn't really an argument. And I know that, of course, we've experienced him as a character for a season and a third at this point, but it still does seem a little surprising.
I feel like... Sorry, go ahead, Caitlin.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go.
I was gonna say it's sort of like how butt sex is still illegal in certain states.
Okay, then
It's
no.
just it's no, really, like it's just a matter of like no one has questioned it. This one guy found the loophole and so was able to like call it into question. Like,
Interestingly, finding a loophole is how you have butt sex.
But at the same time, you know, he had to go to his superiors and say, how about this thing? And they just went, yeah, fine, whatever. I mean, this is a guy, and I said this when we were watching
Nomadics?
Was that the blue shirt's name?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I gave you the card.
he doesn't have. Any
I'd
more.
already forgotten. I just memory
You didn't even read it.
like a sieve.
Well, you're also illiterate.
Just like our president.
Yep.
Ugh. What the hell was I going to say?
I don't know. While you're thinking of that, I want to say a different thing.
Okay.
I was listening to the court stuff, and I know Maddox was on the original team that decided to let Data in Starfleet, and he was the sole naysayer.
Yeah.
And, you know, he continues to not think of Data as a sentient being and such and such and such. But I feel like this opens up I just had the word and I've lost it. Not an oxymoron, but a... Paradox. In that... If Data is not a sentient being, and therefore he's Starfleet's property, then he should never have gotten into Starfleet in the first place.
Or he shouldn't have had to have gone through the academy or something. They could have just, like... Because they know they could easily have him just read the books,
Yeah,
you know,
really. You
in
wouldn't
30
send
seconds.
a toaster to school. Why was this even a question? This
Yeah.
episode is dumb.
Well,
I liked it though.
I mean, I think it's...
Like, they've made this ruling 26 years ago when Data went to the Academy.
Well, right, but now that there's a chance they could replicate him and have an army of him, their previous ethics get to go out the window
Yeah,
because, oh boy, we might get a new toy.
Exactly, and I think that's the bigger deal because, yes, I'm sure it probably wasn't even called into question. There was no reason to question Data as being a sentient being capable of it making, self-destiny, yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm saying at the time that Data was admitted to Starfleet, there would have been no reason to question his sentience.
Because they weren't already thinking
there's no
about
motivation
duplicating
there.
it.
It's just like, oh, well, he talks like a guy, acts like a guy,
Sure.
we'll let him in. But now there's some motivated reasoning, which is so motivated reasoning is a term
to let him
from
into Starfleet though,
Well, hold on.
they haven't let Wesley into the academy
hang on.
yet.
Yeah, I mean, he passed. Hang on. So
Okay.
So motivated reasoning is essentially it's a logical fallacy that pseudoscientists make, where it's like, I'm going to twist the data, or forgive the pun, but I'm going to twist the data in a certain way, or I have a personal stake. I have a personal stake in looking at an issue a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is you're seeing here with Maddox and with Starfleet. It's like, okay, when Data was first around, okay, he wants to be in Starfleet. We'll let him in Starfleet. Whatever. It does no skin off our backs. We get a really good officer. And now, 20 years later, or whatever, there's this possibility that, we could duplicate Data, and we could create more Datas. We could copy Datas, and remember
Control
now,
C.
right? And remember now, the issue wasn't whether or not the issue did not start out as is Data sentient or is Data property. The issue started out as in fact, it was, we're not even going to hurt you. We just want to take you apart and put you back together. It'll all be fine. I'm just taking you apart to get a look inside, just to see how it works. And when I see how it works, I'll be able to replicate it, and we'll be able to create more of you. And that's how it started. And it was Data that was like, well, I don't think you have the expertise to do that safely.
Yeah.
So then the issue became, does Data have human rights?
Yeah.
And which includes saying no to experimental, exploratory surgery.
Data had so many great points this entire episode. The point that he makes where he's like, why doesn't everybody have Geordi's eyes if they're better than people's?
Yeah, because, and I'm sure, and that's a good, and that right there is more of that reasoning, because at that point, even Picard was like, well, listen, this could really help people if there were more Datas. And Data's rebuttal was that Geordi thing, and it's like, oh yeah. Because I'm sure there are people that would be like, okay, yeah, I'd take some Geordi eyes. I'd like to see stunt doubles in place of my friends. Interestingly, and that's another thing, right? Is where does this ruling in this episode leave the status of things like the Enterprise computer, for example, right? I mean, we've seen the computer create sentience in the form of Moriarty. Where does it leave?
We're still questioning if Moriarty is sentient or whether he just thinks he's sentient.
I think, therefore, I am. But really, but you could make the same argument
true,
about
true.
Data, right? I mean, he's a computer that is programmed to believe that he is sentient. Is that any different than being sentient?
You're being Picard right now, and it's really nice.
But it's true, right? It's what.
Do you need us to leave?
You might have to leave.
But yeah, I mean, the computers are ridiculously advanced, and it's probably a fine line between computation and sentience.
Yeah, but then again, the computer... Okay, well, so the computer might not be a great example, but Moriarty certainly
Yes.
is.
No, yeah, he's...
Moriarty has demonstrated all of the traits that Maddox laid out as being...
Yeah. And I mean...
required for
Picard
sentience.
probably would have hooked him up if he could have figured out a way to do it.
Yeah.
But then you also get to the issue of, like, technically, does that mean every holodeck malfunction is sentient? And are you...
Red Block was sentient, and we fucking killed his ass.
Well, he killed himself.
He walked out.
We tricked him into killing his
Right,
ass.
they pulled that classic, superheroes can't kill, but if the villain happens to kill themselves with their own stupidity, technically Superman didn't kill them.
I mean, I don't know. I think that this episode does a really
only
good
sleeping.
job of laying out some of the bigger moral problems
Yeah.
of technology.
Yeah, this episode apparently is used often as a lecture material in like ethics of computer science courses and things like that.
Well, I mean, we're probably, if not in our lifetimes, then certainly in the next century, I would say, we're probably going to have...
I think Alexa is sentient.
I don't think so, but... some
She knows
some
too
people
much.
Say, some people say, well, don't worry about it because the singularity, as it's been called, is where computers become sentient, right? Where you have sentient computers, and some people say, oh, well, you know what? It's not worth worrying about because no one's going to make that. Like, in order to make a sentient, you would actually have to try really hard to make a sentient computer, and why would you ever do that? But I would say that the reason that you would do it and the reason it will happen, I think, is because if you have the ability to do it, people will do it.
Have you heard of Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are people that because they can, they will do it. And there's going to be a legitimate, not a science fiction question. How do you regard these life forms?
Yeah.
You telling me if I was born 50 to 100 years later, I might have been able to have my own data?
Well, I didn't say they were androids. I said they were like sentient computers. Like,
Oh.
you could have an Alexa that you could jam up there, but
I don't really want to jam Alexa up there.
it's a little thick.
Well, that's not the problem. No, I'm just kidding.
There's an adapter for that.
Oh
So
my.
we've been having some very nice, thoughtful discussion, and I'd like to slightly derail it.
Let's stop having slightly.
Yeah, this is boring.
Mature
The listeners don't
conversation.
want this.
I really, my little fanboy self was super excited when they had a callback where they just put their hand on a big light and it starts to read out their
That was
service
good.
history. I was thinking, man, where's Yes Ma'am? I miss her already.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am. Oh, to be honest, when Picard forced them to finish reading Data's list of accomplishments, it wasn't that long.
No, that's why I said, see, it didn't take that long, asshole.
But it did have but it was like a bunch of accolades.
Yeah, very
Although I
impressive
did find
stuff.
it a dick move later when Picard's like, we
Yeah,
don't
fuck that
need to
guy.
hear about your accomplishments, Maddox.
That's because whenever he was on screen, they played the most evil music they could muster. It was so evil, it was off-putting.
Yeah, and actually, honestly, I don't think... I mean, yes, Maddox is a dick, but I don't think he's evil.
No.
And I think his heart's in the right place, generally speaking. And I think once he pulled his head out of his ass, he was all right. And I think that, I liked at the end where Data's like, I want you to succeed and let me know if I can help in the future.
Yeah.
Without killing me.
Yeah, like, and I think that was his thing.
Can we find lore, put lore back together? Give him lore. We'd be fine with that.
Yeah, here you go.
This
You're like
one's
my asshole brother.
busted anyway.
You guys deserve each other.
Again, though, very good job of just hiring a guy who just, again, when they need to hire somebody who's kind of a dick, they're really good at it.
Yeah, they can get that.
And what was good was he had that sort of, that just subtle, like, he didn't overdo the faces or anything like that. And
And they didn't have to even melt his face at the end.
no. So,
Where was the Admiral in all this? Had he left?
I guess so.
'Cause
I don't think any of this was, involved him.
I feel like an Admiral could pull rank in this situation, even...
Oh.
Maybe that's why he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Speaking of pulling rank, this is where I got really, really confused, and really, it made me. This is the thing out of all the things in the episode that just made me angry at courts. I think I've expressed before that I hate like courtroom dramas and things like that because they're very forceful and they're very tedious. And making Riker the prosecutor and forcing him to be the prosecutor and saying if you don't prosecute well enough, it'll be Data's ass anyway.
Yes, and not just that. That's not the only fucked up thing about this court. The Starfleet legal system has some serious problems.
Yeah.
Because here's my list of issues. So you have that, which I 100% agree.
Yeah, it's so weighted towards let's fuck Data over.
But it's not just. But it's also like, well, yes, and it's also like, well, why are we? This man has an obvious conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Not to and
Who, Riker?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He
And-
absolutely does.
And speaking of conflict of interest, the presiding judge and the defending counsel just happen to be banging.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Actively
Well, and
right
also
now.
just the fact that apparently, your JAG can, instead of just calling for someone like, oh, we'll wait 2 days while other lawyers warp here.
Yeah.
We're going to take two men with
What's the
not
rush?
only no legal training, but as I was saying to Caitlin, when Picard is saying to Data that, if he'd feel more comfortable with someone else defending him, I felt like he should have said, just so you know, there was an earlier scene you weren't in where I referred to a legal document as gobbledygook. Like, neither him nor Riker have legal training as far as we know.
Well, and if the only requirement to be a lawyer on this case was to be a flag officer, why not ask the Admiral, see if he'd do it?
Yeah, he was too busy trying to get out of that collar.
That's true.
Wait, did we ever see that version of the Admiral's uniform again? It caught me
I'm
completely
pretty sure
off
Admirals
guard.
just get to dress themselves.
I think it's the only.
They're-
If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's only in season 2, and rarely.
But yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like, well, okay, we couldn't find lawyers, so your petition before this court is summarily dismissed, and we're going to kill this guy.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, there's no procedure for, like, a change of venue.
Right.
You know, like...
And it's not like it was a time-sensitive experiment.
Right.
You know, it's not like, oh, we need to dissect you because something, it could cure plasma plague.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this experiment could happen whenever.
Sure.
So that was definitely, like, drama forcing sort of realism out of the way.
The one thing I get is it gives you a chance to use more of Riker as a character, and he did a great job doing his thing, and then being all sensitive at the end, which was very cute.
Yeah, I thought that was really nice, the moment with them at the end.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think his arguments were that as good as they think it was.
I mean, his arguments were Data's a robot.
I mean, look.
And, like, and really at the end of the day, that wasn't even the issue.
Yeah, you could do most of the things he did to Data with other things. Like, oh, give me your arm. Oh, no, you're being ableist. Let me turn you off. Oh, you've seen the Vulcan neck pinch before.
I just love the idea of him just has someone that hacks off his arm and neck pinches him. See? Meanwhile, guy's just gushing blood.
Yikes.
Terrible.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Imagine if it was Geordi on the stand.
Oh, no.
And look, I blinded him.
With science.
Oh, God, what is he fucking... What was his name? The oil slick?
Argus?
Argus.
Argus.
I stole your glasses. That asshole.
I'm not really evil, I just like lame practical jokes. Want some peanut brittle?
So, so another moment that is, again, perhaps not the most mature conversation, but when, Data admitted he had been intimate with Tasha, I feel like the Jag woman's expression was, well, wait, he can what now? Why are we even having... no, he's sentient.
I formed a line.
Yeah.
I'm number one. Sorry,
so.
Riker.
But that was, I don't know, that was kind of sweet, that whole thing with him.
And Tasha?
Yeah.
That was so sweet. Data
but also
loved
like
Tasha.
misguided. You know what I mean, though? Because I don't feel like she probably...
No, she was drunk.
He was drunk.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you were listening to how loud you were listening to it, but if you turn the volume up really loud during that scene, you can actually hear when Data says we were intimate, you can actually hear Jonathan Frakes' voice in the background going, nice.
That's true. His expression was also kind of like, wait, what?
Nice.
Somehow Picard had figured it out, though. He seemed not at all surprised by the situation.
For the situation?
Situation.
He figured it out.
Well, because
Why else bring Tasha out?
Picard just did the math. He's like, wait a minute, so she banged every man on the ship while she was drunk that day. So she had to have banged Data, just by process of elimination.
Yeah, just like one of the episode to end with, just really loud slamming and Regular One going off kilter as Picard and the lawyer just have their hate sex at the end. Also, holy shit, Regular One looks good in HD.
Yeah.
That model looked great.
Yeah. It looked, I thought it looked pretty regular.
I got very angry at Wesley this episode because he very, very haughtily judges Data for opening his going away present without tearing it. I don't like tearing wrapping paper. I always unfold it at the seams.
And that's why you're not sentient.
Apparently. But it was also like fucking Will Wheaton's delivery that was fucking morbid. He was like, Data, you're doing it wrong. It's like, Will, fucking grow up. Oh wait, you can't.
He's like, I'm going to use it again later. Alright, Grandma, calm down.
It was a brief, speaking of that scene, it was a brief moment, but the little goodbye between Geordi and Data, I thought was
that was sweet.
Aww.
Apparently there's an extended edition of this episode because it was like 13 fucking minutes too long.
Oh, wow.
Because they way over fucking shot. And there's included a scene where Data, as his, farewell to Geordi, gives him his Sherlock Holmes pipe.
Oh,
that is sweet.
Yeah, you can find it on it's on Blu-ray or something. The whole episode.
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
That was one thing too that occurred. You how fucked up the whole situation was even before they came back and said actually you can't quit. But when you consider the fact that Data's whole conscious life has been Starfleet. Starfleet found him, switched him on. Presumably he joined the Academy very shortly after that. What does civilian Data do?
I told you, he gets a job.
Well, yes, that's what I mean. What, you know? Also, I also treated like, why not just cheat it and be like, well, fuck, this ship's lousy with civilians. Mr. Data, you can resign from Starfleet and still pilot the
Data
ship.
an acting ensign.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd have to wear that Wesley sweater though.
That's true.
I bet he'd look nice in gray.
Goes with his skin tone.
No, you know what? Now that he doesn't have to wear a uniform, he can wear that suit from The Big Goodbye all the time.
He should.
Yes, please.
With that hat.
But yeah, and obviously I think, the Guinan scene was really well done.
Yep.
I mentioned that, but
Good week for Guinan.
yeah, good week for Guinan. But yeah, and I'd say my one sort of disappointing thought about this episode is that, I don't want to say this, but I hope that these issues that were brought up and explored in this episode continue to be explored in future episodes.
What are you hinting at?
I'm not hitting anything. I'm just saying it's such a big and interesting conversation that they've started, and I just hope that this isn't the end of that conversation. That there seems like there's a lot more fertile ground here, not just as it relates to Data, but as it relates to other.
I can't tell if you're
things.
saying this because you know the series and you know something that comes up later.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I do know the series and I do know what comes up later, but I also know that this would be a shame if this were the only time we got to really explore this issue.
It would be quite something to come back in 100 years when the fruit has grown from the seeds we planted today.
This space seed.
I can't remember, but I feel like, in theory, it should come up with the EMH, but I genuinely don't remember.
Well,
if
that's
it
the
does.
thing. I mean, that's kind of what I'm hinting around at.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, but just that, like, this episode it was good. It was, like I say, it's my favorite episode of any Star Trek to date.
Including TOS?
Yeah, from the beginning.
Really?
That's what I meant.
Wow. Shit.
It's up there. I think it's certainly up there.
It's still very skin deep, right? Like they have the impassioned speech. You really feel like, but at the end you're just kind of like, okay, well we've settled this little issue, sort of for now.
Yeah.
I would like to do a deeper dive on this, and I would also hate to see other arguably sentient, call them manufactured life forms.
Someone in the episode made a comment saying like, "Oh, you're just saying this because he's not a box." What was the line?
Box on wheels.
A box on wheels, and I think that's really offensive to the box on wheels race.
I heard Nomad sobbing in a corner.
No, man, I miss you. Let's move on to more good use of Guinan.
Yeah.
In the Dauphin.
Yeah.
I wanted her and Riker to fuck.
Shit.
Like,
you're saying that like they
Oh
didn't.
my god, yeah, that scene.
oh my god, that scene was so good.
I liked that.
They were like touching each other under the table during
yeah.
this scene and saying,
Oh, yeah.
"Go, Wesley, go fucking away, go away." Get out of here.
Go talk to your stupid girlfriend or whatever.
Because he started with Geordi.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a terrible
Geordi's
idea.
busy, too.
Then he goes to Worf, which is the worst idea.
Who had like a fucking huge
Oh, yeah.
boner while he was talking.
Well, that's because he was thinking about
That's
Anya.
the sound the woman makes.
The men read love poetry.
Oh, well, I'm
I'm gonna
gonna
try that next time I want to
Lots
attract
of
a
ducking.
mate. I'm just gonna make lots of horrifying sounds.
And then I think, then they show you it's 10-4. Like, good, he's finally done the sensible thing and gone to Guinan. No, he's gone to Riker. Jesus Christ.
Riker
Wes.
knew to bring Guinan in, though.
True, thank God, because Riker's probably the only worse idea than Worf.
I don't know. He gets a lot of pussy.
Yeah, but he doesn't understand intimacy.
Data tried to explain it, too, with the whole, well...
Oh, that's right.
Anatomically speaking, you two could be compatible because you're both, like, humans and you've got
He
hormones.
should have just gone to his dad.
Oh, womp womp.
You mean Picard?
Oh, right,
Yeah,
that theory.
His real dad.
That actually, I kind of wish that had been a scene just to see Picard very flusteredly try to, like, talk his way out
Use
of
a
it.
space condom.
I gotta admit, I didn't hate this one, though.
I didn't either, and I expected to.
I thought it
really
was,
bad.
I thought it was good, and I think if it did not happen in the shadow of Measure of a Man, I would have liked it even better. I think like it was just like it was a.
If it had come
Measure of a Man
first,
was a
it would
tough
just
act
been-
to follow.
If this would have been first, then maybe.
No,
But-
as I said though, I feel like where Measure of a Man like gets deep in there and gets his fucking hands dirty. This episode just sits on like it's superficial. It just sits on top of the sand.
But what's kind of great at the same time is it really, to its credit, nails that kind of like dumb teenager's first crush thing.
Yeah, and then and when she turns out to be like a monster, I hated that. Was so awkward.
That happens all the time.
Did you like pretending to be a person?
Like, I
Thank
think
you, Wesley.
No, that's perfectly in character.
That's the
though.
thing.
That's actually pretty good.
There was nothing about it that didn't make sense. But I appreciate it again. The advice from Guinan at the end was a little more realistic. It was like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It never will feel like this again.
She gets
it's
a cookie.
different every time, and and it's true because I am not even far enough removed from being a teenager to have completely forgotten, when you're fucking 15 and you think you're into somebody and it's like the most powerful thing anyone's ever felt ever, and it's like, in retrospect, wow, young me was a fucking idiot.
Shit's real serious when you're a
It
teenager.
is, and I feel like they wrote it really well that way without it becoming like...
preachy, like the drug
Yeah.
episode.
Not even that, but it wasn't even like an adult badly remembering it. They actually kind of got it right, and that's impressive considering how often they write Wesley poorly. Like, they really... Like, there were things we were doing, you're like, oh, Jesus, Wesley. But it's like, yeah, but when I was 16, I was that asshole, so...
How old is he at this point? Isn't he only like 14?
No, he's like 16 to 17.
Is he actually 16?
There was an episode where his 16th birthday was supposed to be happening, but that might have been cut. But I read it somewhere.
I think they mentioned that he's 16 in his Academy test episode or something, right?
That sounds right.
Okay. Because they
still one of
mentioned
the
she has
youngest.
been wherever for 16 years, so...
Yeah, they're...
Yeah, she's a
The
little older than me.
the actress though, 10 years older than Wes. Than
Well,
Will Wheaton.
obviously. Yeah.
But the fact that she's a shapeshifter,
Yeah.
it's just like she didn't realize she was off the mark or whatever.
Now, you want to know my headcanon, my fan theory here? That race is the same as Marta. Was that the...
The salt vampire?
No, the from Rurapente.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe.
they were cameloids, and these were elastomorphs.
What?
And for some idiot fucking reason, Picard has no idea what a shapeshifter is.
I feel like those names are like what the outsiders call
Oh,
them.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Like they might call themselves cameloids, or that just might be like what outsiders call them.
Or, they could... The fact that they're a race of shapeshifters, outsiders might think 3 different races, or that this one race is 3 different races,
Yeah. At first I was like, well, maybe she's like Odo, but then I was like, from DS9. But then I was like, oh no, that's totally different.
They're the same penchant for turning into weird, horrifying, fuzzy monsters.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's when I was like, oh, she's like the Rurapente lady.
I'm down with that.
Morph Effect looks pretty okay too.
Yeah.
The Morph looked good, but the freaking monster costumes were
Oh,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were so bad.
they were
bad.
bad.
So
those
bad.
are TOS era style
I mean-
monsters.
Some of the mouths, the mouths at least moved in some of the TOS ones.
That's true.
Reportedly, director Rob Bowman tried to lessen their screen time because they were just so bad that he just said, let's see these as little as possible.
But
That's probably a good call.
You know what's sad though? Like if even today, if they had redid this episode, they would just be terrible CG monsters. Instead,
Yeah.
and they still wouldn't look good.
Yeah, no, I mean, to this day, for all that it's ridiculous, give me the 60s Gorn over the Enterprise
I mean,
Gorn.
honestly, I think the best thing that you can do at this time in the late 80s would have been a stop motion monster, like a miniature stop motion monster, like the Terminator or
I
something.
mean, the best thing you could have done was just pan to the wall and show a nondescript, terrifying shadow.
That would have also been very good.
That would have worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually surprised because they show Wesley turning when the girl turns into a monster. There's a shot of Wesley turning around and he's got the look of like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's great. They didn't show her as the monster. And then they cut to a shot of her as the monster. It's like, oh, that's stupid.
Yeah, no, that was bad.
The director, he should have limited their screen time even more because really the better parts of the episode became pretty dumb when we saw the monsters.
But, again, that bit at the end when Worf and the governess were like...
I fucking...
Yeah. Yeah, like, oh yes, we are trading email addresses before you leave.
And I did like the character of the governess.
Anya.
Yeah, and how what a bitch she was to everyone.
Yeah.
Just horrible. Just like...
Like I said, she reminded me of both Dot Matrix from Spaceballs and the Maid Marian's, like, chief handmaiden in Robin Hood.
Lady Cluck.
Lady Cluck. I love Lady
There
Cluck.
we go. And they just, exist to, like, keep the heroine from getting laid too soon.
Didn't you Disney GIF me
I
as
did
Lady
Disney GIF
Cluck
you.
on Facebook? Fantastic.
Yes. What Disney character is Caitlin? Caitlin would be Lady Cluck because she would kick
Oh
your
no,
ass.
but the one from Robin Hood Men in Tights, not.
Oh.
Well, we're
I
talking
remember
about
that
Lady
one.
Cluck.
We're men in tights.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she's basically the same character.
Not Bronwyn,
I haven't seen it
but
in a
something
long
like
time.
It's
that.
not the
Yeah.
best Mel Brooks
Broomhilda?
movie, but it's alright.
Maybe.
I always forget that that's a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah. But
Didn't she hit on Little John a lot?
I think she did.
That was
Who
fabulous.
doesn't?
But yeah, that sort of thing. The like, no, you have to stick to your duty character, but a little more serious because she can turn into an 8-foot tall special effect.
She looked like something. There was something that she reminded me of. I think she reminded me of a, there's a Pokemon that she reminded me of a little bit.
In monster form or in little monster form?
Or in human form.
Monster.
She had 2 human forms.
Oh yeah, what was the
there
weird,
was the random
weird
moment.
hut chick?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. That was,
It's
that
like
was
clearly-
not necessary.
She was the chick from Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
Really?
but
Yeah.
why? But like, why was it necessary to
Amanda
hire an
Coleman?
actor to do that?
My guess is because I read that she was like one of their other people in contention for the role of whatever the chick's name was, Salia. So it was like, clearly they want to bang her, therefore they've got to cast her as something.
I mean, the way I thought of it is, it would have been nice if they'd used this device more, but the idea that, like, depending on, it's almost like the reverse of the chorus from a couple of weeks ago, where, like, depending on the kind of point she's trying to make to the ward, she'll take on a different form. And, like, clearly that's sort of the form where she's, like, trying to be friendlier, you know?
Yeah, but they're not humans. Why not just be in her normal form?
Well, that, I think, again, is sort of driven by the fact
And why be a tiny monster thing?
Yeah, that I don't know. Again, that might just be driven by the fact that...
This episode, the director's like, let's have a tiny monster.
Well,
I know,
also
it's like we have to prove that they're shapeshifters.
Well, at this point, we just know that Anya's a shapeshifter. We don't know that Salia is.
But it does explain why she didn't want to eat any of that chocolate, because when she turned into her original form of being just light, that chocolate would have just fallen out onto the transporter pad and would look really bad.
This is an episode of leaving chocolate places.
It's true. How many bowls of chocolate
4.
were there?
There were 4 bowls of chocolate. I'm sure they
Just
reused
everywhere.
a couple, but we
Well,
saw 4.
If we go by, I'm jumping ahead, but if we go by, later Flanderization of the characters, anytime a bowl was left, like, the second the characters left the room, Troi would just pop up from somewhere, like, run up to it, grab it, and disappear in, like, a vent. Eventually, like, Caitlin's looking at me funny. Eventually, like, a huge part of Troy's character is she's obsessed with chocolate. I wish I was kidding.
Like women do.
Yeah.
With those black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
So, like, her whole character
Not her
just
whole
becomes, like, we don't
character,
know how to
that's
write women, so she loves
big
chocolate.
part of the character.
She's really sensitive to people's feelings.
So,
She also has black eyes,
And
like
boobs.
doll's eyes.
like a doll's eyes.
But I was going to say, too, I think the issue we have, too, with again, Anya and
Salia.
thank you, Jesus, Salia, retaining human form even when no one else is around. It's just an issue that comes up in things like, there's this 80s Doctor Who, where there's this character, you keep seeing this villain, and you're like, who is this asshole? And he's just there in his lair, plotting throughout much of the serial. And then, shit, it turns out he's the Master. Because, the Master would often be in disguise for a couple of episodes in old Doctor Who stories before revealing himself. But the problem is normally he's around other people. For a good portion of this one, he's on his own, still in disguise, and it doesn't make sense. I feel like it's the same thing here. It's like, in
Maybe
reality...
he thinks he's under surveillance.
Maybe it also takes a lot of effort to transform, because they did say that it wasn't just like, I'm something else. They were like literally reconfiguring their molecules.
True, but you think it would still just be easiest to be in their natural
Unless it's like...
state.
I think, who knows? Maybe it's like once you're in a state, any state, it's just less effort to...
Like, the transformation itself is the big
Yeah.
expenditure, not holding it.
And that's
That makes
why,
sense.
like, the grandma there only did it when she wanted to... Here's my guess about the Huddy, is that, like, they were going to do stuff.
Ah!
They were going to do stuff.
Oh, no.
Wow, what has
Sexy
she been
stuff?
doing for 16 years on this planet? Stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, Caitlin, to your earlier point, I think maybe the little monster maybe sort of was vaguely reminiscent of Station from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah, like I've seen that.
Oh, you haven't?
I don't think so.
Oh.
It reminded me of like Venonat or something. I think it's called Venonat.
It reminded me of Little Bigfoot from the film Little Bigfoot.
I've never seen that.
I'm not
It
saying
reminds me, there's
So few people have.
the purple, that mattress company has a whole bunch of commercials out, and one of them has a bunch of Bigfoots. And there's a little Bigfoot, and he wrecks his bed, and his mommy has to get him a new bed.
Little
silly
Bigfoot was
Little
I want to say early 90s. It was either direct to video or direct to TV. I don't know how or when I saw it, but it was like when remember how like early 90s Earth Day and conservation was a big thing.
Yeah.
And logging, like Fern Gully came out around that time. So Little Bigfoot was a little Bigfoot that lived in the woods, and there was a logging company going to cut down his home, and he teams up with some kids. And it was also supposed to, I think, kind of like E.T. a little bit. I don't know. It was terrible.
According to the internet, it came out in 1997.
That's a lot later than I expected.
But yes, you are right. It does.
It looks horrible.
Sort of.
That's the and there's a GIF from the thing of that's famously looks like he's masturbating.
Oh, God. That's really upsetting.
Yeah, no, that is.
What the fuck?
I am deeply unhappy.
Yeah, it's a terrible movie.
Well, that's shocking because it looks great.
Yeah, so we learned that regardless of the whole shape-shifting thing, like they made a comment early on when they were first in contact and they asked, what species are you? And they're like, you're humans? Why? And they're like, oh, no reason, it's fine. And Wesley comments later, that's why you asked what species we were. Wesley wasn't on the bridge. Wesley wasn't even fucking there.
Heidi was at the con.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Wesley was helping Geordi and failing miserably at helping Geordi.
Yeah, he really fucked that up, too.
Maybe Geordi had a line open to the bridge because he wanted to know when they got there so he could put in his request to...
You're stretching this awful thin.
But it's better than nothing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Good point. Also, I wish that they knew, I wish Starfleet knew that they were shapeshifters, because then they could have fucked with him and then be like, what species are you? They could be like, we're Ferengi.
Also, why is this even the Federation's job in the first place to pick up this chick?
Because they're a taxi
Do they
service.
not have their own ships?
I think that's sort of the thing, is that it doesn't seem like... I mean, if you consider that they're, light energy creatures in their natural habitat, that maybe they wouldn't.
Oh, and that's why they get along on those planets so well enough?
Well, I mean, they do have some sort of advanced technology, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's probably more an issue of, again...
Yeah, she's been studying, and she recognizes the doubly hoozle Wesley's carrying.
Too much iron in your blood.
Rip it right out of you.
Yeah. It could come down to, again, this being a whole Civil War situation. Rather than, each side would argue who gets to go get her, it's like, all right, let's get a neutral party. And they're not even a Federation planet, so it's just like, hey, could you do this solid people we're on friendly enough terms with, but not technically part of? And they go, sure! They figure it's a good step towards eventual first contact.
But if Federation had no idea what these species even looked like...
No, that's true.
Who made that arrangement?
Troi.
Was it a third party? Was there another...
All
Harry Mudd.
via radio, when they negotiated the end of the Romulan War.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Troy's constant comments of, they're not being deceitful, but they're not telling us the whole truth. And we're like, thanks, Troi. You're really helping today. Go have a chocolate.
Poor Troi.
Yeah, Troi.
God.
She's terrible as a character.
It's unfortunate.
I mean, maybe eventually they'll do something more interesting, but to date, there has not been much going on for Troi that I haven't despised.
Yeah, no, they really...
And really, I kind of just... Imagine the show if they had, instead of having Troi at all, they had just cast Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan, the ship's counselor.
Yeah.
That would have been fucking awesome.
That would have been awesome.
I think Guinan is one of my favorite characters.
But Roddenberry would be like, oh, well, we can't have a black lady on the bridge because that'll be too much like TOS, and we can't have that.
Yikes. I had a thought. This is taking us back to Measure of a Man quickly. I had a thought in terms of trying to, figure out if Data's sentient or not. Why not just find a Vulcan and have them mind meld with them?
That's true.
They've got that spare doctor on board.
Vulcans can mind meld with
ships
non-sentient things too, like Nomad.
Yeah, but then they
But wait, who's to say Nomad isn't sentient?
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Box on wheels.
Yeah.
Good point.
Isn't he broken now? Doesn't it not matter?
Poor Nomad.
But that's maybe before they broke him, maybe he was sentient.
Now we'll never know.
And maybe the robot that Methuselah made out of Nomad Maybe he was sentient. Remember, he had his little...
Yeah.
And it was clearly just a...
M5 or no, M something.
And yeah, they clearly just built it out of Nomad and a few extra civs.
Yep.
There's another problem with Data, too, is that
We don't see him nude enough.
he's too easy to take over. I mean, I guess the human crew members get taken over enough anyway, but it seems like Data's... He got taken over. He got replaced by Lore,
Yeah.
and he got taken over by Graves. And I'm sure that won't be the last time he loses control because of robot reasons.
Oh, but this happens to the humans we've seen a ton of times.
Yeah, but the humans also don't possess the strength to bend a kilobar thing of steel. Or
yeah,
whatever.
but
Spock comes close.
Yeah, some species can.
Oh god, that reminds me of my favorite part of Measure of a Man. What did he call it that had me in stitches? Mega strength or whatever? Was it mega strength or ultra strength?
It was
Mega strength.
It's like, I love that that's just like an accepted official category in the future. Plenty of species have mega strength.
Well, it's actually it's an SI unit. One strength is what a normal person can do.
Sure.
Mega strength is 1,000,000 strength.
What else for the Dauphin?
I was disappointed that there were no dolphins in this. What? Okay, I do want to know. What the fuck is Wesley's like, we're going to visit this place someday. You're literally standing on a tiny asteroid that is like... like the size of a Buick. You're just, what do you just visit? Is there an atmosphere that you can breathe? No, you're just standing in space. You're not visiting there.
Well, they'll go with space suits when they actually go.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Well, then how do they grab each other? By the two-has.
That's true.
Wow.
That hand gesture.
I wish we had a camera.
That's a scrotal lift. She's performing a scrotal
It could also
lift.
be a
little
clit
You
flick.
could do a little bit.
Tap. You gotta
Little
tap it
both.
first.
A little clit tap.
I have a feeling it's more like...
But yeah, no, very, I went into this week thinking, oh, Measure of the Man, I've heard of this one. If I saw it before, I didn't really remember it that well. But it's like, big classic episode, the Is Data Sentient episode. And then it's like, oh, Wesley falls in love. Oh, this is going to... No, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah,
It was
I was surprised.
Really good week.
Yeah, between this and Coming of Age, which this was also subtitled. There's a few good Wesley episodes in there.
Yeah.
That's
I
not,
think
all hate.
No, I was thinking, and everything in it more has gone on. I feel like as they've begun to understand how to write him, he's been fine.
Yeah.
Which is an issue. First season, they didn't really know how to write anyone. They just especially didn't know how to write him.
And
Still
that's
don't know what they're doing with Troi.
And that's what everyone said was like the first season isn't really good and it's not going to get good until the second season.
Yeah, but I think people then claim Wesley never gets better, but he does. He has,
Yeah.
And then
I
maybe
agree.
relapses, but
He doesn't bother me as much as
Yeah,
he
I mean,
used to, for sure.
once he becomes more of a guest star, and less of
you said that,
regular,
yeah.
his appearances are less annoying and more.
Yeah, because then there's a reason for him because he's a guest star.
Yeah.
Instead of just
He's there all the time when we have to
Deus
use
Ex.
him for something.
Deus Ex Wesley.
Wesley Ex Machina.
We just need the fucking kid.
Which, again, he hasn't solved everything
That's
in a
true.
while.
And
he's just been a person.
He fucked up hard.
Yeah,
He had to get fired due to hormones this week.
That's important.
That
He
was
needs
pretty
to
funny.
he needs to learn that he can fuck up. That's an important lesson.
Until Geordi whips him.
Whoa.
Not till he's 18.
This got weird.
Yeah.
It did
He's
get
almost
weird.
Geordi still hasn't really gotten his day on the sun in terms
That's
of
true.
in terms of Geordi-centric episodes.
And when he does, he'll be a really big creep.
Actually, yes.
So
I
maybe
know.
he's doing better right now.
Oh, brother. Okay.
Where
art thou?
Just looking at the upcoming episodes, I think that's probably all we really have to say on these episodes. But I think
Not enough dolphins.
I don't speak for only myself when I'm going to give this one 2 thumbs up this week.
Yeah.
I liked it most of the way up. I don't think I liked Dauphin as much as you guys liked Dauphin, but I was tolerant of it.
There we go.
All right, so positive week.
Yeah.
Chocolate mousse looked good.
We were fans.
Oh, I wish we had some chocolate mousse.
But
Yeah,
will
she had like a fucking finger lick, and that was all she got.
But will we have fun next week when we do our next 2 episodes? Contagion. Oh, interesting. Oh, what could that be?
Romulans.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Why is it Romulans?
It's just they're Romulans. in the
Oh.
episode.
Nice. Good
I was-
call.
I was making a guess because last time Caitlin guessed Romulans or something, and she was right.
Always a safe guess.
And the other one is, well, they don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese because of the metric system. They call it A Royale with cheese. The episode's called The Royale.
Oh.
With cheese.
With cheese.
No cheese.
Now
It is actually, having seen The Royale, it is with cheese. Oh, if you catch my drift.
I'm just gonna
Is it Okana level of cheese?
It's more perplexing to me. It's one of those episodes where, like, I remember... Now, in all fairness to The Royale, I probably haven't seen The Royale since I was fairly young. Watching it on WNDS, The Winds of New England, with high pressure.
Oh my god, I forgot about him!
Al Caprillion?
Al Caprillion.
How did you forget
shit.
about Al Caprillion?
I don't know!
The man's a legend.
Well, you're from New Hampshire, so you know you've got the edge on that.
He wasn't even our... No, I mean,
Yeah,
not...
WNDS was out of Derry.
Oh,
man.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
He was
well, I didn't really watch it. I just was...
But you knew Al Caprillion.
I did. I was familiar with him, but...
But anyway, yeah. So I haven't seen The Royale probably since then, and what I can say is I remember watching it. And then being like, oh, this looks really interesting at the beginning, and at the end being like, what the fuck? What? What was
fuck
is
just
that was a TV show. Oh, The Simpsons are on. Sweet.
Yeah.
See, I'm just gonna be bummed out when the Royale is not about Data having to join a high-stakes poker game to bring down... Oh,
The sheaf.
damn it, I couldn't think of the name of Cardassian intelligence.
You think that there isn't going to be a high-stakes poker game in The Royale?
Oh, I hope so.
Um,
Seriously, what the hell are they called? The Obsidian Order?
Yeah, the Obsidian
Fuck,
Order.
I don't remember that earlier.
Just edit it in.
But anyway, so those are coming up next week. And of course, this week we covered different episodes.
Did we?
We did.
I don't remember any of
But
this.
those are over, and we'll never speak of them again until we
We
bring
might
them
talk
up.
about Measure of a Man
We
again.
might even talk about
You
the
might,
little,
Rabbit, you
little
might.
Bigfoot again. Who knows?
Let's never talk about Little Bigfoot.
Jerking off. Definitely.
So where can you find us online?
Where can you find us online, Chris? Well, that's a good question. Let me answer you that question right after this. Hey, baby, I hear the blues. Toss salad, and we're back. You can find us online at A Star to Steer Her By on Facebook, and you can find us on sadclown.com / A Star to Steer Her By.
That's not even it.
SoundCloud.com.
SoundCloud.
Sadclad bags. You find us on
I love
Sound.
that every time you take us out, Jake us out, it literally sounds like you're having a stroke,
You
kind
can
of.
find us on jakestroke.com/fuck.
I don't know. I don't want to visit that
I was
site.
gonna say, jakestroke.com is probably a little different.
Gotta turn safe search on.
I've registered it.
Oh.
Anyway, no, we're on SoundCloud, and we... Cloud... Such a stupid name for a website. Sorry.
Yeah, the website name is stupid.
It is because they're two words that sound similar, but they're not perfect rhymes, so it
It's
makes you say the
assonance.
wrong thing.
SoundCloud.
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 So, whatever. We're there on SoundCloud. And we have, and you can find us, you just search for A Star to Steer Her By. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, which I found out that actually is the name of it now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But if you don't have that, Apple Podcast on iTunes.
Oh.
Yeah, you see?
That's too many words.
It is.
It is.
But you
a
can
lot of
find
words.
us there. And you know what? I went on there the other day just to see, and you know what, friends? We still, I think, only got 2 reviews on there. They're both 5-star reviews.
Yay!
We could use a few more of those. So, folks, if you do find us on the iTunes, do it. Just do it. Just take.
We ask you every week. Why
we ask
haven't you
every
done
week.
it?
We come here every week, toiling. We hate this. We hate each other.
Wait, what?
We just do this to get those 5-star
Yeah.
reviews, and you know what, folks? They're not coming. So get with the program.
Gross.
And honestly, and if you don't use iTunes, well, then you're a fucking asshole too. I'm kidding. You're not an asshole. We love you. We're happy you're listening, and you should get your friends to listen as well. And if you don't have iTunes, you're not an asshole. You're probably a Google user, so you can find us there as well on the Google Play Store. We're also on other podcast platforms. Just search A Star to Steer Her By. We're on Twitter, SSHB Podcast. Tumblr, that's the same one, SSHB Podcast. Did I say Facebook? Yes, I did, but I will again. A Star to Steer Her By. Like, subscribe, peace. My name's Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This is always Caitlin.
Night, Seattle. We love you.
You know what they really should have been asking in this court of law? Does Data have a bronze eye? I poop, therefore I am. I don't think I'm wrong.
What if Riker had misread the manual and didn't
accidentally fisted him to try to turn him off?
Poked him in the bronze eye, and now a man will turn it off. Turn it off. You turned it on.
Do androids have wet dreams of electric sheep?